Sophie Crash Ay was just 3 laps into the Formula 3 race when she clipped another driver leading into a corner. She became airborne, slammed into a barrier while travelling at almost 300 kilometres an hour. Fans in the grandstand watched in horror. It's like a missile. 4 other people, including 2 photographers, were also injured. Clinton Maynard from Macquarie Sports Radio is in Macau, was there. Clinton, good to see you. Amazing no one got killed by this.
Koshi, this is a miracle that 5 people have survived, as you just...
There was something in the there, and I understand why. Because Spanish Strauss, and now another track, is that simple?
Fiery as we have ever seen on live television in a sports arena. First 1, then 5, then 10, then 15 cars slamming, flying, disintegrating at the hugely popular IndyCar race in Las Vegas, broadcast by ESPN. And tonight we set out to answer a question being asked by everyone throughout this day. When so many cars crashed and caught on fire, why was a 33-year-old champion and father the one who could not survive? With answers, here's ABC's Josh Elliott.
A huge crash.
It was over in fewer than 7 seconds.
Cars involved.
Racing's biggest fear, a massive, fiery, and fatal crash.
Oh my.
In an instant, the Las Vegas field reduced to fiery carnage.
Looks like
claimed
Dan
15
Weldon
cars,
involved in it.
including Dan Weldon's, who just this May was on top of the racing world, winning the Indy 500. It begins with just a slight jostling of 2 cars, which sets into motion a chain reaction that stunned even the drivers themselves. Instantly, 4 cars collide and are swept into the track's wall, raining fiery debris onto the course. The drivers of the trailing cars, traveling more than a football field's length per second, had no time to react, nowhere to go.
What happens in
this, the perspective of Weldon himself, just before his 77 car hits the back of another and is sent airborne. Weldon himself, just before his 77 car hits the back of another and is sent airborne, along with 2 others, at the mercy of fate and luck.
I had never seen in 40 years of racing an accident like that.
Drivers likely survived the fiery scene because they wear fire retardant suits, reinforced helmets, and sit in foamed cockpits. The track itself enclosed by a shock-absorbent retaining wall. Only Weldon's car struck above that crash-absorbing wall, cockpit first.
Anytime a car gets into the catch fence, that is the danger zone. Catch fence really acts as a cheese grater and can really tear the car apart.
Drivers like Danica Patrick remained virtually inconsolable.
He'll be missed, and I just feel for his family.
A family that was at his side when Weldon passed, including his wife Susan and their 2 young sons, 2-year-old Sebastian and 6-month-old Oliver, who lost their father, Dan Weldon, far too soon.
There is Will. Look who's passing the 77 of Dan Weldon. Points as they run right now, Frankini's favorite. The challenge for second place getting a little more interesting as Marco Andretti looking to the outside. What's really interesting there is that Ed Carpenter probably could pull himself up a little bit closer to Kanai, but he's not. Remember, when you get close to the car that's in front of you, that air that comes off that car, really takes the downforce off your car, maybe lead, just a chance for what they call the big one.
But what happens in conditions like that? Even if you're 300 yards behind that, you cannot stop these cars. The only option you have is to try to avoid it. It was impossible to avoid anything there.
And you saw willpower.
At this point, on the bottom right, you can see Dan Weldon's car being forced up into the air. Moments later, it hits the fence. The race was red flagged. Drivers were in tears as they realised what had happened. Weldon was airlifted to hospital, his wife and 2 young sons by his side. Colleagues were left to wait anxiously for news.
It was like a movie scene. It was, which they try and make look as gnarly as possible. And it was debris everywhere across the whole track. You could smell the smoke. You could see the billowing smoke on the back straight from a car. There was a chunk of fire that we were driving around out there, and then you just see cars scattered. And it was, I hope everyone's okay.
Eventually, though, the news they were dreading.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Weldon has passed away from unsurvivable injury. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today.
I lost one of my best friends, one of my greatest teammates, and I don't know what to say.
We're all going to miss him. A little bit of everybody in IndyCar racing died today.
The race in Las Vegas was the last in the season. In practice, drivers had raised concerns about such a large number of cars driving on the relatively small circuit.
I said before we tested here, having driven the stock car here, this is not a suitable track, and we've seen it today. It's just you can't get away from anybody. There's no way to differentiate yourself either with car or driver. You're just stuck there, and people get frustrated and go 4 wide, and you saw what happened.
Dan Weldon was the reigning Indianapolis 500 champion. These the triumphant scenes from May, the 33-year-old from Milton Keynes celebrating with his wife Susie. On Saturday, the day before he died, Weldon spoke of his excitement about the future.
It's truly been a great year. Obviously, the Indianapolis 500 is what every IndyCar driver wants to win, and I was able to win that event, which is fantastic. But like you say, this year has kind of really broadened the scope of my career. So, I'm very proud of that. I definitely want to be back in a race car full time in 2012.
But it all ended here. The race was abandoned. Instead, a 5-lap salute on one of the sport's darkest days. Becky Johnson, Sky News.